So, hello, Kurt. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this. Can you start out by just telling us a little bit about yourself, your introduction, your name, your title, what your current research interests are?
Sure. Thank you again. Thanks for having me here. And my name is, long name is Kurtuluş Izzetoglu, and I am Associate Professor at School of Biomedical Engineering, Science and Health Systems. So my research and teaching experience interest in mostly the optical brain imaging, functional brain imaging, and human performance assessment, training and learning, as well as traumatic brain injury.
Fantastic. And currently, are you doing projects actively with human subjects research, or are you on hold because of the COVID?
We are on hold right now. Only like there's called like research ramp up. Like if you have specific project that you want to start and you want to continue, then you have to apply. But they go like a project base. It's not like it's not open anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good. So there's some flexibility there.
Yes, there's some.
So you and I met on the DARPA Augmented Cognition Program over a decade ago now. And I think at that time we shared some interests in maybe what we call operational or applied neuroscience.
Yeah.
And we worked directly together, trying to integrate real-time EEG measures with real measures of near-infrared imaging. And I think you continued on with that research and actually got a product to market. Maybe can you tell us the whole story behind that?
Yeah, I think you said it right. I think we were maybe just a few groups, you and I, pushing this pushing this like wearable technologies into the field to monitor the brain activity. Basically, it's like I call it translational neuroimaging, or now there are and one of the technologies that I was working that time, as you mentioned, is called functional near effect spectroscopy. And basically, we were looking at oxygenated hemoglobin changes in the capillaries, because oxygenated hemoglobin is highly correlated with the brain activity changes, and that's why we have been focusing on this chromophore, this biomarker, and then we would develop in this functional fNIRS systems. And we already had a spin-off company, fNIRS Devices. It's still research grade. It's just a research grade system. But we developed some wireless version and as well as some standalone version. But I think the idea, and you already know that during the OCOG, augmented cognition, we learn a lot, I think. And that time, everybody was like thinking, hey, this is too much. It's not going to happen. Yeah, I think it's happening now. Everybody's using it. Everybody's like, I see the surgeons. Yeah, surgeons like the Dylan Shimaros. Yeah, still, I mean, that vision, I think now come to realization, and now many people like using this. I'm seeing like a surgeon training. I'm seeing air traffic controller training. I'm seeing these neurotechnologies, looking at even in the freshman courses, student learning. And I've been using mostly for right now, with the Department of Homeland Security, I've been using for the law enforcement officer training in the driving simulator, or I've been using for surgeon training, especially robotic surgeries, mostly many simulation based.
Tell us a little bit about that, because that's really an interesting concept. Does that mean that you've succeeded in implementing some sort of a closed loop where you're monitoring in real time and then you're altering the training material or integrating somehow with a training platform?
Yeah, that's really well said. Exactly. We're trying to close the loop. Yes. Putting more brain in the loop, as Dylan Shimaro mentioned, keep mentioning, that during the augmented cognition. And I think, especially like right now, maybe that time it was too early, but now everybody has this idea, personalized and adaptive training, right?
Mhm.
Like now we have the tools, we have these wearable sensors, we know better about brain, and we have the better simulators now, more AI-based simulators. So these smart simulators actually is ready to integrate and make this closed loop system. So idea basically, the very specifically, the idea is exactly what you said, how we can get these measures from the trainees, and based on the trainees, that cognitive state or their learning skill acquisition, like the way they learn, how we can actually make that curriculum, that training curriculum, personalized, like a tailored to that people's expertise level.
Right.
So that's the idea. I mean, neuroscience has been there. All the studies, well established, is there, but it wasn't operational. Now we're trying to make it operational.
Nice. And so the training environments that you're working in are driving simulation, and
Yeah,
what was the
one
second?
of like a law enforcement officer, we work with them. You know, my two students, like it was there. Like what we were doing is we're trying to look at the driving simulator and then trying to measure their skill acquisition as well as these cognitive load, so that we can say actually whether that session is working or not for that
Mhm.
person. So it's not there yet, but it's still a research phase. But I think it will be soon to operational, because I see also industries getting interested in, because driving simulator companies or any others, they are getting interested. So we are using EEG just for we are using fNIRS. We are using eye tracking, ICA actually. I think Sandy Marshall's, yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, so we use this ICA. We use galvanic skin response (EDA). We use heart rate variability, and we try to because the idea is to use these and then try to fuse them and then come up a better metric. It's not just one sensor. The same thing, I think, if I summarize, I think there are a lot of simulation because of COVID also, and before we are on this remote situation, there are a lot of like a simulation-based training is coming up now. So I think in simulation-based training, these technologies will help the assessment
Mhm.
and will help us also design this personalized adaptive training.
Yeah, that's the goal, and that's the future, definitely.
Exactly, I think it will be, yeah.
Have you found that, are you working primarily with novices, so people coming in at the very beginning, or is this more suited for someone who's already got a little bit of the skill and now you're kind of trying to advance them more towards the expert?
For the unmanned system, we work with the unmanned system project. In unmanned system project, we use just novices. But in some cases, we use novices and experts. We try to compare them, try to find which biomarker is going to work. So the idea is right now, like in one of unmanned system study, that they went through the 9 different sessions.
Mm-hmm.
They were all novices, and we try to look at their prefrontal cortex and see if we see any like a decrease in their mental effort, because that's what we're supposed to see, right? Based on neuroscience research, to
Right.
define expert.
So you'd like to have them in an optimal,
Exact.
not too overloaded, but not underloaded as well.
Yeah, and then it's called, like, I think, neural efficiency, right? We need to
Mhm.
see less mental effort in the prefrontal cortex when you become good at it, that whatever that skill that you will be developing. So that's the idea. That's what we're applying. We're applying that neuroscience approach. But my role, my team, is trying to come up these wearable sensors as well as these biometrics, so that we can help this uh, performance enhancement. You know, like
Mhm.
I started calling that operational effectiveness. I
All
think
right,
that's
I like that.
yeah, operational effectiveness. You know, like because we see some people like, I mean, Chris, probably you've seen the same thing. Like in some cases, I know you're working with the different domains and you work with the subject matter experts. I see those like pilots coming in, or I see those air traffic controllers. In some cases, you know, you can see they get bored. I mean, but they have to go through the same training, because in some cases they struggle, but we don't pinpoint where they struggle. You know, if we can help them, hey, this is the area, this is the part actually you struggle, maybe you should repeat that. But this is the area actually you're already good at it. Why you should repeat that task? You know,
Right.
I
Right.
think that's going to be the future, and we can help them.
Are you still focused? So um, the advantages of near-infrared imaging over EEG. EEG has great temporal resolution.
Yeah.
Things happen very fast, and you can read it at the millisecond level. However, it doesn't have great spatial resolution. So just because I have an EEG sensor here doesn't mean that you're recording from that region of the brain. Are you using primarily the frontal regions now for your imaging, or are you using a whole head imager?
Right now, we want to go whole head, you know, like not just the fNIRS, because we realized that during the augmented cognition, even that program, you know, like we need to use sensor suites. There's no like one sensor would be the addressing what we are working on. And it's not, and brain is already complex itself. As you said, like EEG has temporal resolution. We don't have it. We are in seconds in the near-infrared spectroscopy.
Right.
Any NIRS, any optical imaging is in the seconds. You know, like it's not just the one type. They all, because of the physiology, because of the biomarker that we are measuring, because that's physiology, that's how it works. But EEG, you're right. EEG has this high temporal resolution, and especially in some cases, like some decision making has to be in millisecondary. You know, so you cannot use these kind of optic technologies. You need to use the EEG. So, so that's why, you know, like I'm mostly like trying to come up. My team, especially, we're working on this multi-sensor data right now, EEG and fNIR. I think EEG and fNIR are going to be great match, great complementary systems. That's what I believe, because we know where we are measuring from, and you can have this high fast signal.
If you're trying to do something real time and time sync to specific behaviors or specific training, you know, within the simulation platform, if you want to link to very specific stimulus sets, definitely EEG is useful.
Yeah, because some of my colleagues, for example, at DHS or FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, for example, they are interested in certain events, right? They are interested in certain, you know, like a event-related signal. So in those cases, optical imaging has some difficulty, but I can use the EEG data to answer or to understand what's going on in response to that specific event.
Right.
You know, like so that's why like I really like the EEG also.
Great. So in addition to closing the loop in the simulation, which was really the holy grail for augmented cognition, and I applaud you for continuing on that, because it is a hard problem. Are there other applications for these technologies that you and your team have been involved with?
Yeah, I think that one of my PhD students, for example, right now, she has been working on using this neuroimaging, translational neuroimaging in the traumatic brain injury. So we are looking at
interesting.
Yeah, especially mild TBI is like there are a lot of we are having a lot of problem as in terms of the health issues. We don't have really right solution to detect the mild TBI, mild traumatic brain injury. And so we still, I mean, as you know, our primary focus still optical brain imaging, functional near-infrared spectroscopy. Still, we want to use this, and we want to look at this for the traumatic brain injury cases. Like she's using like a CO2, carbon dioxide, delivered to the patient. And when you deliver the CO2, vasodilation changes, like the vascular changes happening. So once vascular change happen, then you can see actually this blood flow, blood volume changes.
Mm-hmm.
So can we detect that one? That's the question right now. She's
Oh, that's really
asking.
interesting.
Yeah. So because if we detect that, then we can maybe find the differences between the healthy population and TBI population, so that we can help those early detection. So that's still hypothesis. We're still testing that. We're still working on it. But it's going to be, we have a great collaborators, doctors, very much interested in and helping us.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and the other one I'm using, I think that's also EEG can help us on that. One of the project I'm very much interested, and I don't think there's a still huge unmet need on that, is the anesthesia, like this anesthetic drug delivery, that like administration of the anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we don't use the personalized approach, and we have these all strong drugs, opiates, propofol, fentanyl, and we have these volatiles, these gases we just administer, but we don't really know exactly what's going on in the brain. I know there's an EEG system out there, you know, but
Yeah.
I think it's still long way to go. I don't think they are sensitive to the certain drugs. So I think there's an unmet need, especially field surgeries or for the DoD, like this personalized automated drug administration. So it can be done with the EEG and functional near perspective.
Yeah.
So that's what my
It's a
another
really important area, in part because of the adverse outcomes that people experience. We've been doing a lot of work in the field of dementia and dementia assessment, and it's not uncommon for patients with mild dementia to have a surgery, have a fall, and then have an adverse effect of the anesthesia, and the dementia suddenly becomes, you know, moderate to severe. So, or there's delirium, you know, post anesthesia. So anything that we can do to improve, I mean, there are a lot of novel anesthetic agents coming out, but you're right, it needs to be personally tailored to your brain, and not just your brain, but your brain at the time of the surgery. That's a really, I think that is an important unmet need, and you know, one that where we can do with better monitoring. They have the simple BIS systems. You've probably seen those with 2 channels of EEG, and they've been around forever. Everybody uses them, but nobody's really happy with them. So I think there's a lot of area for innovation in that field.
Exactly, especially as you said, certain drugs. You know, like we need to make sure. You know, like right now, the way they are administered, I mean, they really need our help or these technologies help, because we can help them actually, like as you said, like personalized delivery, and especially in the I call it like ambulatory anesthesia, like when you those outpatients, and you know.
Yeah, definitely.
These technologies can help.
That's great. That's something that I had not previously thought about, although I am familiar with the EEG applications.
Yeah.
I like to ask this question of everybody. So if you suddenly had, you know, not unlimited funds, but let's say somebody decided to give you $5 million for research, what is kind of your dream research path? What are the kinds of things you'd really like to explore if you just had the resources available?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. A lot.
All right, so $20 million.
Yeah, I think because I also teach you know, like I teach biomedical signal processing and biomedical systems. I always tell my students, I don't like black box approach. You know, like I really want to understand. I really want to make sure that, you know, like what we are doing is the right thing, and it is in line with the physiology, is in line with the nature. So I would invest more on understanding the brain, you know, like more, but it's not I don't want to make maybe, okay, I should be politically correct, but, but not just the basic science. It's not like, because they are great. They help us understand the brain. But at the end, I think we should be taking these technologies into the field.
Hmm.
You know, we should do that. You know, we are still way behind that, and that kind of bothers me a lot. And you know, we have this. We understand EEG signal in and out now. What the confounders are, what
Yes.
the noises are. You know, what those variables are. You know, like and plus we have these other technologies. Why don't we invest in and use this basic science and then come up these technologies that we can actually put in the helmet or put it to, and then make sure that we can monitor this important organ, important tissue, brain. And
Yeah.
I know Facebook, I know like Tesla, I know like they all getting interested, which is great thing, but there is a difference between hype and I think so. I think I would invest probably like in developing these wearable technologies that we can take it into the field and make it reliable measures.
That's
So
fantastic.
that's why.
That's obviously one of our shared interests.
Yeah, exactly. I know that's why
Neuroscience,
yeah.
yeah, out of the lab and into the real world.
And I remember ABM, Advanced Brain Monitoring, everybody's talking 32, 64, 128 channel. You
Yes.
guys come like 4 channel, but it's working. It was working, like
Yeah.
we were able,
Yeah. Well, I just like to, I always say, use the minimal number of channels that you need to achieve an accurate result. So if you need to monitor drowsiness, you really only need 3 EEG channels. And I don't think you need near infrared. But
Exactly.
if you want to measure something like cognitive workload, it's a pretty complicated construct. And there, you need more regional coverage, and you need the time synchronization. So some of those the mental constructs or cognitive constructs are a lot more elusive, and you need more sensors. But don't burden yourself with 250 sensors just to have them. I never understood that. More and more sensors. So but we were always thinking, we want to get this out in the field. We want to put it in the battlefield. We want to put it in training. And there's been a fair amount of success, and it's not just us, but other companies as well, in really making these systems scalable and mobile, and with lots of applications. So are there any studies or anything that we could help you with? I know we haven't worked together in the near, recently, but in the far past, but we'd love to work with you again if we have an opportunity.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that I put a proposal. Unfortunately, it wasn't, granted. But I always, like you want to use your device, your system, because it's wearable. And usually the projects I'm tackling or I want to work is all real world problems or real, like in the field, like unmanned systems, self-driving cars, I'm sorry, it's just gone. So I don't know what happened. Like
your light just changed.
I know it's like a surgeon training, or I call it like a safety critical task. But you cannot do those experiments, or you cannot do those studies in the lab. You have to be out there in the field or working with Federal Aviation Administration.
Yes.
So I think definitely the multi-sensor, and one of them EEG, has to be there, must be there. But still we have some issues with EEG, as you know, like a lot of noise issues, and I think there's no standard. I wish we have a standardized approach, for example, for the noise removals, everybody agrees on. And but I understand the challenges. So yeah, I especially
No, I mean, we have a lot of sophisticated algorithms we can apply offline, but many of those don't translate to real time. So if you're doing closed loop, you've got to live with less than efficient decontamination.
Yeah.
That's the challenge. And as we
So
know,
that's the area I want to.
Yeah,
that's the area I want to work with you, like a real life. How do we do real time? Like this
Yeah.
sensors, combining them, and then using this real training scenario. It's not like somebody is in the car, somebody is in the cockpit. That's my
Yeah.
dream. I think it's
Yeah.
going to happen. I mean, that's, you know, like that's what we should do. But
Now, with the NIRS, have you tackled some of those real-time decontamination problems? Because those were issues, several years ago.
exactly. Still, I mean, still there, but at least now we know actually what they are.
Mhm.
We identified, we characterized them, and we're trying to, some of them, we're trying to address by using hardware solution. Some of them we need to develop some algorithms, additional algorithms. We're still working on it. Like it should be soft solution, not the hardware solution. So yeah, there are like some of them is not even again like the EEG, right? These eye blinks. In
Yeah.
our case, the same thing. If somebody take a deep breath, then you
Doing
can
jaw
easily,
muscles,
exactly, you
head
can, yeah,
movement. Yeah.
you can easily say, oh, it's a high workload. No, he just took a
Yeah.
deep breath. He
Yeah.
just changed the oxygenation. So so uh, we know those. I mean, we now, as you, I know you guys working on also some decontamination, but we are getting the what where, like 5 years ago, if you asked me this question, I wouldn't know like most of the stuff like EEG people know. But now I think we are getting close to the like uh, EEG data
That's
analysis.
great.
Yeah.
That is great. And are
There are,
those
yeah.
algorithms published and available to use, or are they still kind of in your lab, where you're still working on them and tuning them?
No, they, most of them are published. Some of them other groups publish. We use their you know. So there are like the last time I think we talked, there were like few NIRS groups, but now there are many groups really working on this technology. So
That's
thanks to
great.
them, actually, thanks to them, we have a lot of different algorithms out there now. So different, you know, like some of them actually came from EEG literature also, like ICA,
Mhm.
wavelet
Yeah.
denoising,
Yeah.
so those kind
Yes.
of things. But some of them is specific to the news. But there are like a lot of European groups also. They are developing this because they also want to push this to the real operational environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, uh, but I think you know, at the end we're going to unfortunate, maybe fortunate or unfortunate, depends on how you look at it. It's more domain dependent, right? It's specific to domain. Like
Yes.
if it's submarine, it's a different story. If it's in the cockpit, it's a different story. If it's in a driver's seat, you know, like it's different. So, but people expect like one size fits all solution. I
Yeah,
don't think
that's not going to work.
that's
Yeah.
not going to work.
And there's a certain amount of personalization that needs to go along with decontamination as well, because frankly, eye blinks, even in the EEG, which is the easiest to decontaminate, often vary from one person to the next, and the way, muscles affect the EEGs. And I'm sure it's exactly the same with, but generally, if you're driving, if you're driving on especially on a boring road or on a highway, there's not a lot of artifact in the
Yeah.
signal. So driving is pretty, and we found the same thing with flight, live flight or flight simulators. You get a minimum amount of EEG artifact. So
Okay.
those are good environments for doing the closed loop training.
All right.
Wow, it's already half an hour. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Any plans? Or, one thing I did want to offer is we do, if you have some students that wanted to do an EEG project, we have, usually some small set of used systems that we could loan out to you for student projects, or, something like that. So
I
let
would
us know. I mean,
appreciate
we
that.
like to support, students, because they're the future researchers. So let's
Uh,
think about that.
I will appreciate. I have a actually star student. Is we call it. We have a star program, which is like we pick his top student,
Mm.
and he's into research. Actually, I would appreciate, because you know that I have a professional driving the unmanned system simulator in my lab.
Uh-huh.
So So we design different cognitive workloads. So yeah, that's definitely, I would really appreciate. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Well, thank you again for
Thank you.
taking the time. It's been fun catching up and talking with you and hearing about your plans.
Yeah,
Look
my
forward to future collaboration.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.